Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be reading Captain Underpants, the Preposterous Plight of the Purple Potty People. the 8th epic novel by Dave Pilkey. For Elizabeth Boom Boom Elberg, long live in the EEC. These are the chapters. Hi everybody! As you can see, we've been experiencing some technical difficulties. This comic book should get you up to date on our story so far. The often told untold story of Captain Underpants by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. Once upon a time, there was two cool kids named George and Harold. We're hip to the jive. Me too. But they had a mean old principal named Mr. Krupp, who was mean. I'm all mad and stuff. So George and Harold hypnotized him with a 3D hypno ring. You will obey our every command. Okay. The accident. Then the accident. Ellie made him think he was a superhero. You were Captain Underpants. Okay. But he escaped and ran off to fight crime. Tra-la-la, rats. Then one day he drank some superpowered juice. Glug, glug, glug. Look at me, I'm Captain Underpants. Ha, 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 ha. George and Harold ran after him. Hey, come back here. No way. Then, now he has superpowers and stuff. Look at me. I got superpowers and stuff. But if you think that's bad, it gets worse. Pay attention because this next part is important. The worst part is that whenever Mr. Krupp hears somebody snap their fingers, he turns into Captain Underpants. Tra-la-la. And whenever someone splashes water onto Captain Underpants' face, he turns back into mean old Principal Mr. Krupp. Blah, blah, blah. Here he is, back to the principal. In their last adventure, George and Harold got two new pets. A bionic hamster named Sulu. Cool. And a pterodactyl named Crackers. Awesome! Everything was cool until this brainiac named Melvin showed up. I'm telling! Melvin made a time machine out of a purple potty. Anyways, George and Harold wanted to use the time machine, but Melvin had one rule. Don't use time machine 2 days in a row. Okay. If you use it 2 days in a row, something very bad will happen. Okay! I mean it. Don't use it 2 days in a row. Okay! Seriously, don't use it 2 days in a row. Okay! Then, hey, let's use this thing 2 days in a row. Okay. And so, George, Harold, Crackers, and Sulu used the time machine 2 days in a row, and something very bad happened. What will happen next? Chapter 1. George and Harold, the troublemakers. This is George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the skeleton on the right with the tie and flat top. Harold is the one on the left with the t-shirt and a bad haircut. Remember that now? As you might remember from our last adventure, George and Harold had recently made the horrifying mistake of trying to pass through synthetic time warp without letting C2X906 Super Bimflimatrix drive of their Beeble flux, capacitizing the fire cooldown, thus creating a sub-paradoxal dimensionalic alternac shift, which opened up a hyper Google-iphonic screen door into a omnivating ultra-zenticular bio-nanzo of nanzoflammerzipan. To put it into scientific terms, they screwed up. But don't get all freaked out because everybody looks like a normal. X-ray beams are normal by product interdimensional. Reality shifting, don't worry, it'll probably clear up by the time you turn the page. Let's hope it does. See, what did I tell you? George and Harold and their loyal pet suddenly found herself wishing that they had never set foot inside the paratyping purple potty that was about to send them on a journey to the horrifying abyss of the unknown, a journey that would probably spell impending doom for them selves and would not likely bring about the end of our civilization as we know it. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2, Those Wacky Grown-Ups. It's been said that adults spend the first 2 years of their children's lives trying to make them walk and talk. Say Dada. Phone bill $629.41. And the next 16 years trying to get them to sit down and shut up. It's the same way with the potty training. Most adults spend the first few years of child's life cheerily discussing pee and poopies and how important it is to learn to put your pee and poo-poo in the potty like big people do. But once children have mastered the art of toilet training, they are immediately forbidden to never talk about poop, pee, toilets, and other bathroom-related subjects again. Such things are suddenly considered rude and vulgar, and are no longer a word with praise in cookie and juice boxes. White power, pro-pee, hooray for poop, make poop not war. No diarrhea in our school, down with poop. No, the poop sign. Pee stinks. Ban poop. One day, you're a super smart because you pooped in the toilet like a big boy. And the next day, you're sitting in the principal's office because you said the word poopy in American history class. Which, if you ask me, is the perfect place to say that word. Principal's office. You're probably wondering, why would adults do that? Why would they encourage something one day and discourage it the next? The only answer I can think of is that adults are totally bonkers and should probably be avoided at all times. Perhaps you'll be lucky to and find a small handful of grown-ups one you could trust, but I'm sure we could all agree that you have to keep an eye on the most adults of the time. Adult grown-ups. Which is what George and Harold did. Chapter 3, The School of Hard Knocks. Unfortunately, the adults at George and Harold's school were anything but trustworthy. Take their principal, Mr. Krupp, for example. Mr. Krupp winked heart thrilled on the teardrops of children. His very soul danced at the thought of crushing a child's spirit and dashing his or her hopes and dreams against the jagged rock of never-ending despair. Oh, Chapter 3, The School of Hard Knocks. Each day, Mr. Cup would stand at the doorway to his office, gleefully handing out detention slips to any child who was pat, and for the minor infractions too, such as smiling, breathing without permission, or smelling funny. As bad as Mr. Cup was, the most teachers in George and Harold's school were even worse. Oh, I think I didn't read this. Each day, Mr. Cup would stand at the doorway to his office. I read that. Fortunately, George and Harold, their evil educators, were not very intelligent. They could be outsmart easily, and they often were. Teacher's entrance. Push button to open door. Teacher's range. Push to open door. Who knows what it's saying? Now you might think that George and Harold wasn't very sporty. Of George and Harold to try and outsmart dumb people, and perhaps you'd just be right. But George and Harold were just trying to make the best of a bad situation. But unfortunately for George and Harold, their bad situation was about to get much worse. Purple Pottyville. After several intense minutes of orange flashing light, X-ray beaming, and lightning-infused electric whirlwinds, the purple potty finally stopped shaking and spluttering and came to a sudden halt. Thick yellow smoke poured from its glowing hot tailpipe as the grinding gears and coughing motor shifted into power down mode. George and Harold had no idea what to expect. They had no idea what to expect, guys. They're supposed to be perched high up in a prehistoric tree 65 million years ago in a capterous period of Mesozoic era. But they stepped out a plastic door of purple potty. The boys were disheartened to find themselves in the middle of school library where they had started. What are we doing here? Asked Harold. Oh no, said George. Something must have gone wrong. Harold carefully tucked crackers back into his book bag, and two boys looked around the brightly lit library. Well, hello, boys, said the school librarian. This is banned book week. Would you like to expand your minds today? No thanks, said George. Hey, asked Harold. Didn't you get fired in our last book? I don't think so, said the librarian. Said George. I'm not feeling very good about this. Duh, not feeling good, asked Melvin. Sneely, who had been struggling to comprehend to easy-to-read children bestseller, Frankenfart-Us. The bionic barf bunnies from Diarrhea Land. Should go see the school nurse. Chapter 4. Purple Pottyville. After several intense minutes of orange flashing light, X-ray beaming, and lightning-infused electric whirlwinds, the purple potty finally stopped shaking and spluttering and came to a sudden halt. Thick yellow smoke poured from its glowing hot tailpipe as the grinding gears and coughing motor shifted into power down mode. George and Harold had no idea what to expect. They had no idea what to expect, guys. They're supposed to be perched high up in a prehistoric tree 65 million years ago in a capterous period of Mesozoic era. But they stepped out a plastic door of purple potty. The boys were disheartened to find themselves in the middle of school library where they had started. What are we doing here? Asked Harold. I don't know, said George. Something must have gone wrong. Harold carefully tucked crackers back into his book bag, and two boys looked around the brightly lit library. Well, hello, boys, said the school librarian. This is banned book week. Would you like to expand your minds today? No thanks, said George. Hey, asked Harold. Didn't you get fired in our last book? I don't think so, said the librarian. Said George. I'm not feeling very good about this. Duh, I'm not feeling good, asked Melvin. Sneely, who had been struggling to comprehend to easy-to-read children bestseller, Frankenfart-Us. The bionic barf bunnies from Diarrhea Land. Should go see the school nurse. We have a school nurse? Asked George. I thought we just had a box of Band-Aids and a dirty, rusty saw, asked Harold. Duh, of course you have a school nurse, said Melvin. His office is right next door to our 5-star gourmet cafeteria. George and Harold looked confused. Thanks, said George, but we'll be okay. Chapter 5, Strangers in Paradise Lost. As George and Harold walked down the hallway of their school, they noticed that something seemed wrong. Very wrong. But they couldn't figure out what it was. What could it be? Miss Anthrop, the unbelievable crappy school secretary, passed by. The boys smiled kindly. Why, hello, George and Harold. She said, it's so good to see you two. Have a wonderful day. George and Harold looked at her suspiciously. What just happened? I don't know, said George, but something strange sure is going on. George and Harold opened their locker and carefully put crackers and Sulu inside. Shh, you're asleep, said George. Good, said Harold. Now you can take a nap while we get to class. On the way to their homeroom, George and Harold stopped to switch the letters around on the lunch menu sign. Please eat my C. But as they were just finishing, their principal, Mr. Krupp, caught them red-handed. Hey, Bubs, he said. What are you kids doing out here? Please eat my plump, juicy boogers. George stammered. Please eat my plump, juicy boogers, said Mr. Krupp, giggling with glee. That's gotta be the funniest thing I've ever seen all day. You boys really cracked me up. You're hilarious. Then with a spring in his step, Mr. Krupp pranced away, whistling a merry tune. What just happened? Asked Harold. Shh, whispered George. Look at those two kids who are coming toward him. Reading a homemade comic book. The kid on the left and a teacher in a flat top, and the one on the right had a tie and a bad haircut. Please feel free to remember that's us now. If you wish. It's us, whispered George. How can they be us? Asked Harold. I thought we were us. Ooh. And there's Mr. Krupp whistling. There's the boys worrying, and there's the evil guys. The evil clones. George and Harold hid behind a trash can as their two lookalikes walked towards them. They stopped in front of the lunch menu sign and frowned. Then a devilish look came over their faces as they quickly began rearranging the letters. The strange boys snickered wickedly as they sneaked away from their prank. What just happened? Asked Harold. I think I figured it out, said George. Ooh. Anarchy rules. Chapter 6. The World According to George. I think the purple potty brought us to some kind of strange backwards universe, said George. No way, said Harold. That kind of thing only happens in poorly written children's story whose authors have clearly begun running out of ideas. Here, I'll prove it, said George. The two friends walked to the cafeteria and took a whiff. That's weird, said Harold. It doesn't look like the dirty diaper, greasy dishwasher, and moldy tennis shoes in here anymore. It smells like food. Like food. Yup, said George. Next, the boys went to the gymnasium. That's weird, said Harold. Our gym teacher isn't fat anymore. And he's not being incredibly cool to the non-athletic kids like he usually is. Yup, said George. Rule number 1, have fun. Jim, here's the teacher. His hat says knuckleheads. Finally, George and Harold stepped outside. That's weird, said Harold. All of our evilest and most terrifying enemies from the past have been miraculously transformed into good guys. Yup, said George. Fire department's right there. The crossing guards right there. Chapter 7. Getting out of town. George and Harold ran back to their locker. Let's grab crackers and Sulu to get out of this crazy place, said George. Good idea, said Harold, but when the two friends opened their locker door, their two friends were missing. Where the heck are crackers and Sulu? Cried George. I don't know, said Harold. Nobody else has the combination to our locker. Nobody else except our twins, gasped George. Harold tried to shut the locker, but the door jammed on something. What's that? Asked George. He looks like a comic book, said Harold. He held it up and read the front cover out loud. At that moment, George and Harold began to dreadfully sense a horror. They were up against Chapter 8, The Preposterous Plight of Captain Underpants. Story by Harold Hutchins. Artwork by George Beard. The Preposterous Plight of Captain Blunderpants by Harold Hutchins and George Beard. Once upon a time, there were two evil children named George and Harold. I'm bad as well. They had a nice principal who went by the name of Mr. Krupp. Hello, boys. Have a pleasant day. Whatever. One day, George and Harold hypnotized Mr. Krupp. You will obey us. Yes, master. They made him think he was an evil villain. You are now Captain Blunderpants. All right. George and Harold made Captain Blunderpants do all sorts of evil things. Steal us a video game system. Okay. Captain Blunderpants obeyed. Game Station 2000. Steal us a big screen television. Okay. Crash. Audio video. I'm so happy I could cry. Me too. Uh-oh. Tissues. Crash. He literally robbed just to get tissues when he could have bought it easily. Soon, George and Harold had the best, world's coolest treehouse. Pet shark, sauna, jacuzzi, 2000 pet cobra, pet piranhas, candy, soda, massage chair, DVD, push, toys. Do you boys need anything here else? Yeah, how about pizza? Sure thing, masters. And so, pizza. Crash. Hold it right there, Captain Blunderpants. You've stolen TVs, jacuzzis, pop machines, massage chairs, and disco balls. But this time, you've gone too far. You're under arrest for Grand Theft Pizza. You've got to catch me first. Zip, and the chase was on. Soon, Captain B was chased onto the freeway. When suddenly, oh no! Hey, look out! Screech! Yeah! Crash. The strange mixture of chocolate, peanut butter, and extra cheese combined to create a super powerful chemical reaction, sizzle sizzle, which gave Captain Blunderpants amazing superpowers. I feel super! La la tra! Then, here's your pizza, boys. Hey, where is the pineapple? Fruit crash. Wow. Just think of all the evil things we could do now. With Captain Blunderpants, as our evil superpowered slave, we will be able to get anything we want. Soon the entire world will be ours. Ha ha, mwah ha ha ha, mwah ha 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 ha. He wants to rule the world. Epilogue. Oh, by the way, whenever Captain Blunderpants hears someone snap his fingers, snap, he turns back into Mr. Krabs. Have a swell day. And whenever Mr. Krabs gets water on his head, he turns back into Captain Blunderpants. Grrr. Remember that now. Evil Treehouse Comics, LLC. Chapter 9. Now that my hamster and my pterodactyl. I think evil twins made this comic book, said Harold. They must have, said George. The artwork is really bad, and I'm pretty sure they misspelled some words. Let's get out there, said Harold. Not without crackers and Sulu, said George. George and Harold ran to a window and looked out. They saw their two evil twins sneaking home, carrying their beloved pets with them. Sulu and Crackers have no idea what's going on, said George. They think those guys are us. How in the world are we going to stop us? Asked Harold. Chapter 10. Hypno Horror. George and Harold knew exactly where those evil twins had taken Crackers and Sulu, to the same place they would have taken them. Their tree house. So the two heroes dashed home as fast as they could, then climbed up the tree house ladder as quietly as they could. But when they peeked outside, they saw something that was 389 times worse than they ever could have imagined. Their evil twins were hypnotizing their beloved pets with a 3D hypno ring. You will obey our every command, said Harold. Yeah, said evil George, and you'll be really weak from now on too. George and Harold gasped, which is actually not a very smart thing to do if you're trying to go unnoticed. Hey, look! Shouted evil Harold. Gaspers! Get 'em! Shouted evil George to their newly hypnotized pets. Crackers didn't move. The dazed pterodactyl shook his head and looked a little confused. But Sulu immediately sprung into action. He lunged at George and Harold, grabbed them by their shirts, and yanked them to the ground. Hey, said evil George, those kids look like us. What should we do with them? We can't take any chances, said evil Harold. Then he called Sulu into a loud and commanding voice. Destroy them, old wicked hamster! Chapter 11. Crackers to the rescue. Crackers did not understand what was going on, but the plucky pterodactyl, I knew that someone needed to be done, and quickly. So with a sudden whoosh of flapping wings, Crackers swooped them in and grabbed George and Harold from the relentless little paws of their ragging robotic rodent rival. Oh no! Screamed Harold. Cracker is going to fly us high in air and to drop us. We're doomed. I actually think he's trying to rescue us, said George. But he got hypnotized just like Sulu, said Harold. Why on earth would he do the opposite of what he was ordered to do? Now come on our pronouns or getting it alive. Let's not worry about that now, said Harold. We gotta get out of here. But before we can't leave Sulu behind, cried George. Don't worry, Harold. We'll come back for Sulu. So the three friends flew to the school and headed upstairs to the library. Hey, that looks like a pterodactyl, said Mr. Crook. As our heroes pushed past him. Let me pet him. Let me pet him, Mr. Crook cried, chasing after them. Crash. George, Harold, and Crackers finally reached the library just in time to see Sulu and their evil twin smash through the ceiling with a terrible crash. You jerks won't get away from us this time, said evil Harold. Desperately, George, Harold, and Crackers tumbled into Purple Potty, slammed the doors shut, and quickly reset the controls. Mr. Crab and Sulu pounded on the door of the Purple Potty, while George and Harold's evil twins shook the manufacturing time machine from side to side. All at once, an orange light started flashing and wildly. The Purple Potty began to shake and wobble violently. Then the entire room lit up with explosive bursts of lightning as the Purple Potty and everyone around it disappeared into a whirlwind of electric air. Chapter 12. Okay guys, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! This is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Oh my god, we're literally walking to the Burj Khalifa. I am so excited, I cannot believe it. I just went to the Gucci store and I got this Gucci t-shirt for me.